Have you ever eaten at McDonald's? They make money from their burgers, right? Wrong. In this video, I'll be reacting to another excellent video talking about how McDonald's makes the majority of their money. Now, I'm no McDonald's fan, but I can definitely appreciate the business sense behind the company. Welcome to my channel. My name is Kairo, and this is my $1 million hustle, trying to get my net worth to over $1 million within the next 3 years. You can join me for the adventure. Just make sure you crush the like button to help with the algorithm. Let's get into the video.
During recessions, consumer behavior tends to change in fairly predictable ways. The hardest hit businesses are, of course, the most unnecessary: travel and tourism, leisure and hospitality, and manufacturing.
Ooh, that cuts deep. My Airbnb business is not loving the year 2020, that's for sure.
Other companies actually stand to benefit, like fast food. Stomachs don't respond to economic downturns, but smaller bank accounts do opt for cheaper alternatives, which is why chains like Burger King and Wendy's often perform better than average during recessions. From 2008 to 2010, for example, while other businesses closed or downsized, Subway added nearly 6,000 new locations. KFC added around 300 in roughly the same period. One company, however, stands out as the clear fast food winner of 2008, McDonald's. That year, it continued its 55-month-long streak of same-store sales increases with even better performance than before the recession, while opening 600 new locations and with an impressive 29% return on equity.
Man, that's crazy, but just look at the number of Subways that get opened. 6,000. Whew.
This is for obvious reasons. During that time, consumers were simply eating cheaper food. But there's another reason McDonald's is what some analysts call recession-proof. McDonald's is first and foremost a real estate company. Glancing at its 2019 balance sheet, one number in particular should grab your attention: $39 billion. That's the current value of all its property and equipment before it reports depreciation. That would technically make it the 5th largest real estate holder in the world, measured by total assets. Cover the name McDonald's, and this might look like the financial statement of any other boring big-name real estate developer. Like Burger King and Subway, the company was able to grow so fast and reach so many countries around the world through franchising. 85% of its restaurants are owned by someone who essentially leases the McDonald's name and brand in exchange for a considerable fee. What makes the company so unique is that unlike other similar fast food giants, McDonald's makes the majority of its franchise revenue from rents, not burgers. To be more—
I mean, that sentence is a bit weird, right? Because McDonald's, yes, is making the majority of its money from the rent that it's charging to the franchisee. But the franchisee could only be making enough money to pay that rent because of the McDonald's brand and because of how many burgers, Happy Meals, drinks,
how much diabetes they sell, essentially.
So yes and no.
7.5 or 64% of its $11.6 billion in franchise fees came in the form of rent. Here's how it works. Because McDonald's has decades of experience buying and selling properties, it knows the precise ingredients of a successful location. It shops around usually for intersections between two high-traffic roads, and buys space in whichever corner has the most parking. The ideal space is around 50,000 square feet, 4,500 for building space. The intersection should also have traffic lights. It then buys the property with long-term fixed interest rates. Its huge existing property holdings provide it with the most favorable deals.
And that's a key point as well. So whenever people are talking about debt and good debt and bad debt, so McDonald's and most companies and also most rich people use debt to their advantage. They use leveraged debt. So McDonald's is using its size to negotiate really good interest rates and long-term deals so that their overall loan repayment is actually pretty low. So they're leveraging that debt to make lots of money from cash flowing rent from the franchisees.
Operate their own McDonald's location, they sign with the company a franchise agreement, stipulating nearly every detail of how the business will operate, from how the burgers are cooked to the hours.
Wait, hold up. It says to do? Break ice cream machine. What did the ice cream machine do to them? That's harsh.
Of operation. For example, they can only purchase from an approved supplier, who may or may not be the best or cheapest option. The franchisee, that is the local owner, generally makes a total upfront investment of $1 to $2 million for a single location, including an initial down payment paid in cash, one-time franchise fee of $45,000, and a percent royalty of every month's revenues.
Oof. Okay, so you only need a cool $1 to $2 million to get started with the McDonald's franchise. Or, for free, you can click the link down in the description and get 4 free stocks from Rebel right now, when you deposit $100. So that's essentially free money. Yeah!
These usually 20-year contracts also have the unusual but highly consequential stipulation that the restaurant be located at that specific address, the one McDonald's, the corporation, just bought. In other words, McDonald's instantly has a tenant, and one who will always pay above market rates.
A 20-year-long tenant as well, so that's brilliant.
Depending on the value you attribute to good location scouting, you might characterize this as a valuable service or a ruthless business tactic. Indeed, one franchise union found that the average franchise tends to pay an average of 6 to 10% of its sales in rent, while McDonald's franchisees pay 8.5 to 15%. And if a location fails to perform as expected, McDonald's can simply find a new franchisee for that location after the contract has expired, or sell the land to someone else entirely, likely at a significant profit. So why do franchisees agree to these stringent requirements? Simply put, because it's seen as an incredibly safe investment. The advantage of this model is that while the absolute numbers are abnormally large, the fees, the initial startup costs, and even the annual revenues, the odds of success are relatively high. For example, the average location makes $2.7 million in sales every year, with a respectable, but not incredible all things considered, $154,000 in final take-home profit.
Yeah, that $154,000 in take-home profit, that's obviously after the owners, the managers, everyone is getting paid, the salaried staff are all paid, the licensing fees are paid for, the franchise fees are paid for, the royalties are paid for.
But precisely because McDonald's is so demanding, can it be such a solid investment? Sure, applicants have to meet high standards to become franchisees, and once they do, they have little control over their own business. But all these factors also reduce their risk. While other franchises may have fewer requirements, they also come with greater risk. The owner of a McDonald's can be pretty sure they're qualified for the job, have a good location, and are meeting customer standards, because otherwise they wouldn't be allowed in the first place. McDonald's trains its franchisees in what it calls Hamburger University, the company's internal system of teaching business owners all the skills and knowledge they need.
Oh, that's awesome.
What university did you go to? Oh, I went to Princeton. And you? Oh, I went to Yale. Oh, how about you?
I went to Hamburger University.
For McDonald's, the benefits of owning property are far greater than just an additional source of revenue. It's no exaggeration to call it an entirely different business model. It understands that real estate is a far better business than hamburgers. The first reason is just a function of American tax law, which offers heavy tax breaks for depreciation, even while that same property may increase in value over time. The biggest advantage is the long-term stability of property prices. Along with Walmart, McDonald's was one of only 2 stocks in the Dow Jones Industrial Average to increase in value in 2008. It's also one of the 60 or so members of the so-called dividend aristocrats, stocks that have increased their dividends annually for 25 consecutive years. Recessions are only a welcome opportunity to buy up discounted properties. When things are truly catastrophic, like during a pandemic, the real estate model outsources risk to franchisees.
Yeah, that bit is super harsh. So, if the store has to close, it's not McDonald's, the holding company, who suffers. It is the franchisee who suffers, because they probably still have to pay at least a minimum amount of rent. Yes, the percentage of royalties that they pay might change because they're not making as much money, but they still have to pay that rental amount. And as McDonald's makes the majority, over 60% of its money from rent, That hurts.
are contractually obligated to pay a minimum amount of rent regardless of sales.
Well, yeah.
All of this is reflected in the upward trend of franchised McDonald's locations, and downward trend of the few remaining company-operated locations. If anything, McDonald's is actively trying to remove itself from the fast food industry. But this naturally raises a question. If McDonald's makes a huge portion of its profit in the form of rent, and managing real estate is a fairly separate skill from creating new McThings, why not split off the real estate holdings into a new company? Do that, and you have a very stable, active, and profitable real estate investment trust, one immune from the variability of fast food and changing consumer appetites. A group of investors suggested this very idea in 2015. The company, however, decided not to, believing that its property model is what makes it unique, and that its remarkable efficiency is a function of doing both.
I think I kind of see the point there, because they're so linked. Then, and by McDonald's having its own stores as well, it is able to, create those efficiencies and economies that they can then pass on to their franchisees to make sure the franchisees make as much money as possible. Because it's still an effort for McDonald's, if a franchisee is not doing well, to replace that franchisee. It's still a mission. They'd rather have that franchisee in that location doing well for the whole 20 years and then possibly extend, because then McDonald's is making money on the royalties as well as continued rents. Because no landlord wants any vacancy. They don't want a franchisee to not be doing well, leave, and then they have to get a new franchisee, and any of that downtime is money lost. Okay, let's just take a cursory look at Kairo to see if anyone's talking about owning a McDonald's franchise. And this person has 2 McDonald's franchises and makes around $300,000 a year. So that kind of fits in with the numbers in the video. Eleanor makes about $100,000 plus a year after expenses from one store. And basically they're saying that you can do really well with the McDonald's store, or it can be a bust. So location is really key, and you need to manage the store very well. So McDonald's obviously gives you, or most franchises will give you, a very set plan of what to do, operating procedures, how long to cook the food for, how to clean, how to hire staff, how to schedule the staff, how to deal with waste management. All of that stuff will be detailed in the franchise agreement and those standard operating procedures to make sure that the company is set up for success. But it still depends on the franchisee to make sure that everything runs smoothly, to hire the right people. If it isn't in the best location and the franchisee isn't maximizing the amount of revenue they can make, it can be pretty difficult, considering they have to have that big loan initially with that investment to become a franchisee, and that they have to still pay significant amounts of rent and significant royalties as well. So you need to make sure you are doing a good job, otherwise you might very likely go out of business. So that was a really well done video. I'll put the link to it in the description. It is by Polymatter. That's a YouTube channel. And if you're interested in this stuff, you should probably also check out the movie called The Founder. That was about how McDonald's initially got started, and then how a very smart businessman came in called Ray Kroc and kind of turned everything on its head and managed to take ownership of the whole brand, turn it into a franchise thing, and then grow it to what we now know of as McDonald's, which was very different to the vision that the original founders had. So it's definitely worth checking out that film. Now, lots of people might think that McDonald's is cheap food, and that's not necessarily the case. It is fast food, but not necessarily cheap. So let me know in the comments if you want me to make a video talking about the finances between eating McDonald's regularly versus buying your own food to make at home, and how those two stack up. Now, if you enjoyed this video, crush the like button and subscribe. Join me on my $1 Million Hustle. New videos on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Watch these videos next. I'll see you in there, and let's hustle together.